Good morning. Today we're going to talk about how to submit an officer grade ceiling request. Officer grade ceiling requests are specific to our AGR officers, so those officers who were selected and were in AGR at the time of selection. The first place you want to start is going to be MyVector. Just as a reminder, all officer promotion actions for the reserves are located in MyVector. Now for our AGR officers, so upon selection, if they are not a position vacancy select, they will be pseudo-dated with an infinity date, and that infinity date is 08 August 3888. So if you see that on a release message, that means that you were an AGR at the time of selection and you have a pseudo date. If you are a position vacancy nominee or select, there's nothing that you need to do. We actually garner grade ceiling for you before, and we will project your date out. So only those selected on a mandatory board who are AGRs at the time of selection and are showing a pseudo date require officer grade ceiling. If you're no longer an AGR, maybe you were an AGR when you met the board, but you've since left that position and you have a pseudo date, that's actually a really easy fix. You'll just reach out to PBE and let us know that you're not an AGR and you need to be projected. But for those of our officers who met a mandatory board, were selected, and are still in that AGR status, they are going to go to ARPC Officer Promotions under My Applications, and they're going to choose Officer AGR Grade Ceiling Request. Now, the caveat to this is if you as an AGR officer are submitting for an accelerated promotion, you do not also need to submit for a grade ceiling request. During the accelerated promotion process, senior rater concurrence is already obtained, and we count that as them also supporting you receiving grade ceiling. So we work the grade ceiling process within this accelerated promotion request for you. Accelerated promotion requests are for those officers requesting to be promoted early. For our AGRs who are not requesting to promote early or who are ineligible to promote early and are simply wanting to be promoted on their 7 years time and grade or SecDef approval date, whichever is later, they must come to Officer AGR grade ceiling request and request that action. If you do nothing, you simply remain pseudo-dated. We won't action your promotion without you submitting this, either a request here or if you were submitting an early promotion request. So you'll just click Officer AGR grade ceiling and click apply. In order to promote as an AGR, you must be in a higher graded billet and you must be the sole occupant. If you are not in a higher graded billet or the sole occupant, DPAAG will not grant you grade ceiling, and then PBE will not promote you as a result. We must have grade ceiling for our AGR officers to promote them, and that's due to those limits at each rank being controlled congressionally at Congress. So in order to start, you're just going to fill out this application. And you can see the very first question is going to ask you, did you or do you wish to submit a request for an accelerated promotion? If yes, you're going to exit this application and choose that accelerated promotion request tab you saw. I believe it's PBE accelerated promotion request. And if you're not requesting to promote early, you can continue with this form. So you would just fill this out. Candidate name is going to be the name of the person requesting to be promoted. Current rank is pretty straightforward as well. That's your rank that you currently hold. Your current DOR can be pulled from your CDB. Your projected rank is going to be what you wish to promote to. So if you're currently a major and you're promoting to lieutenant colonel, that's what you would put here as lieutenant colonel. Projected date of rank, it is not 8 August 388. This date is a pseudo date. So if you have this date as a projected date of rank on your CDB or on your release message, it's just an infinity date that is the placeholder. That's what we talk about when we say pseudo date. So it keeps you from promoting until we are able to obtain grade ceiling for you. You need to review paragraph 4A in your release message to calculate your projected date of rank. For our majors, that's going to be 7 years time and grade, SecDef approval, or 1 October, whichever is later. And again, you'll verify that in paragraph 4A of your release message. For our lieutenant colonels, that's going to be 7 years time and grade, or SecDef approval, whichever is later. And for our colonels, it's going to be based on your increment message. So you would pull the date from your increment message to get that projected date of rank. Again, you'll want to check paragraph 4 alpha on your release message. For board ID, that's going to be the board ID for the board you met. If you don't know it, it's okay to put Majors Board 2024, Lieutenant Colonel Board 2024, or whatever year you met, just as a lesson if you want to know what the board ID should look like. If you met a mandatory board, it should be a Victor identifier. If you met a non-participating board, meaning you were a member of the IRR at the time that the board met, that would be a whiskey. And if you have a U identifier, you actually met a position vacancy board and you aren't required to submit for grade ceiling for those. So Victor, the next two numbers would be the rank you would have been promoted to. So if you met a lieutenant colonel board, that would be Victor 05, and it would be 04 for majors board and 06 for colonels board. Next two identifiers would be the calendar year you met in. So 24 if you met last year, it'd be 25 if you met in January of this year. And the last digit would be alpha for our reserve members. The only time you'd see that last digit change would be if you were a guard member. Guard does sometimes have two boards a year, and so one would be an A and one would be a B. But for our reserve folks, it's always going to be alpha. Occasionally, the active duty also has multiple boards a year, but we typically do not in the reserve, so it should always be A. We want your current position number. You can get that from your Manning document or your UMPR. I think you can also pull it from RMVS or have your MPF give that to you. Is the member currently in a higher graded billet? What does that mean? That means if you are trying to promote to lieutenant colonel, you must be in a lieutenant colonel billet. If you are trying to promote to major, you must be in a major's billet. And if you are trying to promote to colonel, you must be in a colonel's billet. This is only for AGRs. AGRs, again, they're congressionally mandated and limited with the number that we can have at each rank. And one of the rules to promote as an AGR in an AGR billet is that the billet is a higher graded billet for the rank they're promoting to, and that the billet they are also the sole occupant in that billet. And that brings us to our very next question. Are you the sole occupant in the billet? Because we can't promote you unless you are. And that is because DPAG will not grant grade ceiling. And without grade ceiling, I can't action your promotion. If you're not the sole occupant and you're filling out this application ahead of time because you will be the sole occupant, as long as it's within 30 days, you can still submit this application. If you're still 6 months out from being the sole occupant, you're wasting your time. We're going to deny this request. If you're the sole occupant and it's just yes, you can skip question 4. If you're not, we're going to ask you the date you're going to be with the understanding that this should be within the next 30 days. So here, if somebody's retiring from the billet and they're leaving on 30 September, then you would put that you are the sole occupant beginning October 1st. And then we offer you submitting your UPMR, just confirm some of the information we've already asked and saves us a little bit of time on the back end. And additionally, these AGR orders can also save us some time, but these are not required uploads if you don't have them available. Under the timeline and comments, this is where you're going to fill in your current commander and your current senior rater. You can press these 3 vertical dots if it's not the right person populating and hit replace coordinator. It's going to say you understand you're replacing the coordinator. Now, I need to be very clear that we are going to check that your correct senior rater concurred on this application. You are not authorized to use the vice wing commander simply because the wing commander was TDY. It needs to be your assigned senior rater that you put here. The commander doesn't necessarily matter as much, and we're not going to check that. So if you want to put the senior raters exec, we'll accept that. We built this to put your commander in because that's just the proper way that these things flow. But if your commander is out of town and you want to put somebody else here, that's okay. As long as you understand that this senior rater matters. Whoever you put here has to be your assigned senior rater within MilPIDs and AFPROMs. And we're just going to check the passcode you're assigned to and see who the senior rater assigned to that passcode is. So typically this is going to be a wing commander. And if you are a lieutenant colonel and higher, this is going to be a NAF commander. The typical folks, now, of course, if you're in like the A3 or A4, that may change, but that's who we typically see here. This application will not route to PBE until this person signs off on it. If you're one of those people that put your senior rater twice, understand that that means your senior rater has to go in and concur twice on this application. And if they don't, PBE will not receive it. It'll just continue to sit there. So there are 2 approvals that have to occur before this is routed to PBE. Now you'll see this change once your commander signs off on it. You'll see the information change and it's going to route to the senior rater who then has to approve it. And then once the senior rater approves it, it'll automatically route to ARPC PBE, and PBE will be the one to route it to DPAAG, who will then return it back to us once they assign a number to the member requesting grade ceiling. So pretty straightforward. Once you get all that filled out and you get the proper person loaded, you'll just hit submit form over here and it will automatically route. We do recommend that you tell the commander and senior rater or whoever you've put in the commander block that there is a pending coordination with them, as they may not know, they may not get any type of notification from MyVector if they've turned that off or they've blocked it in their email account. So make sure you verbally or email them that there is something coming and that it's on a deadline and they need to get it over to us, because we will not have any idea you submitted this until these two people hit approve. Let's talk about how raters and senior raters approve these applications. So I'm going to go back to the front page. So you are a commander and you've received one of these and you want to know how you go in and approve it. So again, we're always going to recommend that you adjust your screen size. If you're in Edge, you're going to have 3 horizontal dots here and you're going to adjust to 67%. If you're in Chrome, it'll be 3 vertical dots and you adjust to 67%. If you don't do this, if you don't adjust that screen size, you may not see all the functionality of the page. In order to be able to approve any type of application, whether it's accelerated promotion or an AGR grade ceiling request, you're going to go to My Applications, and then you're going to choose Go to Coordinator Dashboard. In Coordinator Dashboard, you'll see coordination requests populate here on the left-hand side. They should be in order of most recent. So it looks like the most recent one I have is actually down toward the bottom. So I populate in here and you can just verify whoever initiated and told you it was waiting for you. Their name should be right here. Then I'm going to hit View Request. I can see who approved it over here before me if I'm the senior rater. If I was the rater and I was the first one to approve, this would not show approved. And then I can view the application if I want. I can review the routing chain. And then I'm just going to, if I say, yep, they're good to go, I'll hit Approve. Now you can see that this button stays grayed out until I type something into the comments box, and that's because the comments box is required. So I have to hit approve and then submit action. Once I hit submit action, depending on where we are in the chain, it will either move to the senior rater if I'm the unit commander rater approving, or it will automatically go to ARPC if I am the senior rater approving. And that is it. That's how you cord on either an accelerated promotion or an officer grade ceiling request.